Well, guess what? We're only human. The mind is always going to be going. The mind is always going to be going a mile a minute. The mind is always going to be sending us thoughts. So we can't get to a place where there's going to be zero thoughts. If you had zero thoughts, then you're probably unconscious. But what you can do is focus those thoughts. What you can do is bring your place to a sense where it feels like there are almost no thoughts, where it feels like the thoughts have kind of quieted down because you've allowed yourself to quiet. I'll get into that. But that's really what we're going to be talking about is how can you quiet that monkey mind, let it drift into the background, and let yourself focus on that stillness that you've been seeking so desperately. So let me know where else you're from. I'm seeing Kathy from Texas. Hey, Kathy. I hope things are nice and warm over there. I remember speaking to somebody who was saying they were actually getting snow, and then suddenly it was going to 80 degrees. So I don't know. I can't figure it out. But let me also kind of touch on some of the methods that you can use to try to get to this place of peace. Try to get to this place of you know pure stillness, because people want to be relaxed. People want to be so calm. I mean, we're in this hectic world. We're in this world where we're constantly going back and forth. So what is it that we need to do? Well, first off, if you kind of go back to the initial list I gave you a couple of weeks back, this list of 10 ways you can improve your meditation practice, if you use that method, then that's certainly something that you can use to kind of go step by step to really get into the meditation phrase, right? Now, once you're in that meditation, then the question becomes how can you improve the meditation peace and calm? You can certainly do the guided meditations. You can certainly listen to music. You can certainly allow yourself to be in a place of comfort and quiet. That'll definitely help. But then there's still the internal monkey mind that's always going. So, what I always tell people is to focus on first your breathing. If you focus on your breathing and you just allow yourself to focus on your chest rising as you inhale, and you focus on your chest falling as you exhale, and you keep repeating that, all of your attention goes to your breathing. And that's the first point of focus. And you'll notice that as you're focusing on this very natural thing, because remember, the brain kind of autonomically breathes. You don't you breathe in your sleep, right? So you don't even have to think about it. You're just becoming aware. That's a key point. Remember that in your mind for later. You're starting to shift to a position of awareness as opposed to active thought. When you're becoming more aware of something, you're going from an active stance to a passive stance. So start becoming aware just of your breathing. You're focusing on your breathing, you're becoming aware of your breathing. As you start to focus and become aware of your breathing, you'll notice that all of a sudden those thoughts start to slowly calm down, slowly move to the side, because you're allowing your mind to step aside. You're allowing your mind to become less active, less involved, less on, because the ego mind always wants to stay in control. The ego mind always wants to be in a place where it can dictate what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and how it's going to happen. That's what the ego mind is. That's what your conscious mind wants to always do. It's a safety mechanism, right? So if you start to allow the ego mind to say, hey, I got it, everything's cool, just step aside, I'm just being aware, the ego mind will start to quiet down. So focus on being aware. First, being aware of your breath. And as you're focusing on being aware of your breath, start feeling the energy around you, becoming aware of what's around you. Maybe you're feeling your clothes and your skin. Maybe you're feeling yourself in your chair. Maybe you're feeling the energy in the room. Who knows? Maybe you're feeling your spirit guides too. Maybe you'll start to feel the energy in the room start to pick up. Just become aware of every little thing around you. And it's okay if all of a sudden your mind starts to pick up again, but notice that you're becoming aware and focusing on all the other things that you previously were not even aware of. Why? Because your mind was racing. Now it's backwards. Now you're hyper aware and you're noticing that your thoughts aren't racing, but you're now more aware of other things that you hadn't even been aware of before. And you'll notice that your awareness starts to become heightened. You get this heightened sense of awareness, and that's okay. Just keep on allowing yourself to be centered, allow yourself to focus, and keep on with that sense of awareness. And the more that you allow yourself to just be aware of what's happening and aware of yourself and aware of your breathing, you'll notice that everything is becoming more and more calm. And then one of the things that you can allow yourself to do is if you're doing a guided meditation, for example, maybe what you're doing is you're focusing on a visualization. Maybe you're visualizing yourself. Maybe you're sitting in the power. Maybe you're seeing yourself floating off into space. Maybe you're seeing yourself wrapped in light. Maybe you're feeling yourself embraced by light and love, and you're just feeling this angelic presence, and you're just feeling, you know, perfect energy, right? As you start to feel those feelings, just allow yourself to become aware of those feelings. Don't place any value on them. Don't place any judgments on them. Don't say, okay, these are great, these are bad, this is don't even analyze them, because it's the moment you begin to analyze is the moment you begin to invite your conscious mind back in. You don't want your conscious mind, your analytical mind, your logical mind, your ego mind to get involved in any of this. So the more you can keep pushing your conscious, ego, analytical, logical mind back to the side, the more you're going to be like, okay, good. My left brain, logical mind's going off to the side, leaving my right brain, creative mind, to be aware of what's going on. And as that's happening, you're going to notice that your entire mindset literally is shifting. And as you do that, you'll start to notice that you're becoming not only centered, but grounded and calm. And you begin to notice that you'll start to feel that you're no longer what you thought you were. You're no longer this person. You're no longer, you know, name fill in the blank, right? It's no longer you. You become aware of being aware. How's that for a trip, right? You're being aware, and then all of a sudden, it's like the second derivative. You're now aware that you're being aware, right? You're literally stepping outside of yourself. The self is being aware, but then you're stepping outside of that and you're becoming aware of being aware. And that's when you really start to notice that you have traveled outside of your mind, you've traveled outside of your body, you're no longer in the humanness, the ego, the mind that's constantly bouncing around, that monkey mind that's yapping away. As long as you're allowing that conscious mind, that ego mind, that analytical mind, that logical mind to step aside, that's the monkey mind. Once it's stepping aside, then all of a sudden the doors open to the possibility of being aware of everything else. And that's when you can begin to float away and just become calm, peaceful, and filled with energy and light and love. And that's what it's all about, is just allowing, being aware, and accepting everything that happens. So don't start thinking, oh gosh, did I take out the trash today? Oh, did I feed the cat today? Oh, did I do my work today? Oh, what's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen next week, right? You're not in that state anymore. That's the ego mind. That's the analytical mind, right? That's the part where you're trying so desperately to be in control. If you can just tell yourself, all right, for these 10, 15, 20 minutes, I'm not going to have any concerns whatsoever. I'm just going to be focused in the here and then now, and be heart centered, then guess what? Everything's great. You don't have to worry about what happened yesterday or a few minutes ago. You don't have to worry about what's going to happen in a couple of minutes or tomorrow or the next day, because the only thing that you can control is the here and now. You can only control what's happening this instant. Can you control what happened a few minutes ago? No, it already happened. Can you control what's going to happen in a couple of minutes? No, but you can control what's happening this instant right now. So just worry about being where you are. And once you're here, all you need to do is worry about being present in the self. And once you're present in the self, then you start to become realizing that you can be aware of everything that's around you. Again, be aware. That's the key here. So get yourself into a guided meditation. Get yourself lost in the music. Get yourself lost in the visualization. That's the key. If you just allow yourself to drift away into this beautiful visualization of whatever you're visualizing, right? Whatever the guided meditation is taking you on. Maybe it's a beautiful trip through a garden or a forest or a lake or whatever it is, or maybe the universe, wherever you're traveling, right? If you're on that guided meditation and you're on that visualization, you're visualizing all these different scenes. Once you're visualizing these things, your mind doesn't have the ability to start thinking about all these other things that you're bothered by earlier. You're like somewhere else. Again, it goes back to the concept of the daydream. Remember when you were kids and we were you know a couple of weeks away from summer break, we'd be in the class physically, but we'd be staring out the classroom window and just daydreaming, oh, I can't wait to be back outside again. Our brains and our thoughts were gone. We were basically not in the classroom. We were physically there, but mentally we were gone. That's a daydream. That's the same idea. You can be at two places at once. Your physical body can be in one place, but your mind and your pure existence can definitely be somewhere else. That's been proven by quantum physics. You can be in multiple places at the same time. But that's not what this is about. Today is about how can you quell that monkey mind. And you do that just through awareness, just by allowing yourself to daydream, allow yourself to focus on the beauty, the calmness, the centeredness, the love, the light, the music, and just being aware of where you're going, being aware of what you're feeling, being aware of how these things are happening. And when you're aware of it, you start to notice that you're no longer really there anymore. And if you become aware of being aware, you start to notice that you're in the stillness. You start to notice that you're in the quiet. And you no longer think about where you are anymore because it's not even relevant. And as a result, that monkey mind not only has disappeared, but you'll notice pretty quickly that the quiet starts to surround you. That's why if you're ultimately getting to a place where you can practice meditation without somebody else's guided meditation, but you can kind of do it yourself with your own visualization methods, and you sit in the silence and you allow yourself to get to a place of silence and stillness, that's sort of the motivate the meditation nirvana. That's when you're at a point where you can just be still and allow yourself to quote unquote be, right? May take practice, may take a bunch of years. That's where the practice comes in. That's where it's going to take some time. But in the beginning, you know the mechanics. In the beginning, you know the theory. In the beginning, you know how you're going to do it. So it just takes baby steps. And these are the little baby steps that you can begin to take, right? These are the baby steps about how you can focus on the meditation, how you can focus on the awareness, how you can focus on the breathing. And it's these little focus steps that'll really kind of get you going, right? So that's really sort of the fundamentals in a very short time span. I kind of wanted to drop some wisdom bombs on you just about how to quell that monkey mind for meditation. So if you've got questions, by all means, let me know in the chat box here because we're live. Let me know, some of your questions that you've got because I'd love to answer some of your questions. I'd love to answer perhaps some of your challenges that you've got. Let me know what challenges you've got. If you've got, difficulties with meditation, difficulties with quieting the monkey mind, or if you've got difficulties in anything regarding that. Meanwhile, let you see who we've got on the chat boards here today. We've got, like I said, we got Kathy from Texas. We've got Maureen from New York. We've got Pascal from Quebec. Hello, Pascal. Got Jane from Florida. Got Carrie from Ontario. All right. Got KJ from Charlotte. We've got Debbie again. Hi, Debbie. How you doing? So these are all sort of like the basics that wanted to sort of let you know as far as the fundamentals of meditation. If you were thinking to yourself, okay, well, I can't do it. Well, it's something that is also attitude based. If you think you can't do it, then you're already a step backwards. Try to tell yourself, okay, it's possible, and here's why it's possible. Let me just see if I can try this. Because you've got to have an open mind to trying it. Some people are just very, I can't do this. This is not for me. Well, okay. If it's not for you, then don't try it. But if you think it's possible and you think it's something that you'd like to do, then by all means, try it. See what if any of these steps are helping. Remember, I gave you those 10 steps. That should certainly help you. And Maria is asking, when you find yourself drifting back to a thought, what's the best way to bring yourself back to no thought? Ooh, I love that question. Yeah, the place of no thought. It's the place of non-existence, right? So if you're asking and you find yourself drifting back to a thought, starting to drift back to sort of a consciousness, what's the best way to bring yourself back to that stillness, bring to that place of no thought? Which is an excellent question because it happens to everybody. So if you find yourself all of a sudden, maybe you're in that place of no thought, you're drifting away, right? But again, remember, it's not no thought. It's a place of just pure awareness. It's a place of stillness and quietness because there will be thoughts, and that's okay. The first thing to know is if you get a thought and you're realizing there's a thought that's coming in, first thing to know, that's okay. It's okay to have thoughts because if you don't have thoughts, it means you're either unconscious or dead, physically dead. um, so don't worry about a thought coming in. That's totally normal. Secondly, if you recognize a thought starting to creep in, just recognize that the thought is there, but don't engage the thought. The piece of advice I always use is imagine a thought is kind of like a subway train pulling into the platform, right? The subway train pulls into the station. You're standing on the platform. The subway opens its doors and it's inviting you to get on, inviting you to engage. But rather than stepping onto the subway train, stay on the platform. Don't engage. Just acknowledge it. The subway train slash thought close the doors and will pull out again. Meanwhile, you're still standing on the platform. So just acknowledge the thoughts coming in, recognize it, and let it pass because that's exactly what will happen. And the other thing to do is, in order to do that, is once you recognize a thought's coming in, don't allow your centeredness to engage, but bring your awareness and attention back to your breathing. When you refocus on your breathing, what happens to your thoughts? Your thoughts are refocused back onto your breathing. That's why the breathing is so important. Remember in the very beginning, I was telling you, how do you start? You start by focusing on the breathing. Why do you start by focusing on the breathing? You start by focusing on the breathing so that you can center yourself and center all of your focus and center your attention in the center. It removes all the thoughts. It removes your you know, randomness of all these different, pieces of attention. You're like thinking everything, but all of a sudden, it's like a magnet. You're brought in the center. So focus your attention on your breathing. If you feel a thought coming in, go, oh, okay, there's a thought coming in. Let me refocus. Focus on the in breath. Focus on the out breath, and do that a bunch of times until you're focused, and then start again. It may happen a bunch of times. That's okay. But the one thing to know is always come back to your breath. That's the biggest piece of advice I can give you. If you ever find yourself encountering a thought coming back, which is normal, just bring yourself back to focus. Bring and refocus on the breath. Happens to me all the time. It's normal to be. You're a human, right? um, and this here's a and I see Nathan's on here. Great. Wonderful. So I say hi to Nathan. Glad to have you here. Um, if you have other questions about the meditation, about the methodology, about how you can quell that monkey mind, let me know. Type your questions in the chat. Love to hear more about your questions. But again, I mean, to Marie's point, sorry, my eyes are blind. It's Marla's question. Oh my God. Senior moment. Sorry about that, Marla. Um, what I'm always telling people is definitely focus on your breathing, right? Because that's the key aspect of this. If you can focus on your breathing, you'll always come back to center, and it's pretty quick, right? Because what are you doing every day? What are you doing every second? You're breathing. And it's not so much like you want to focus on controlling the breathing. You don't want to say, okay, I'm going to breathe really deeply. I'm going to exhale really deeply. Just allow the breathing to go naturally. That's another critical aspect that I didn't mention is just allow the breathing to be natural. Don't try to control it. Don't try to do one of these counting things. You've probably heard different meditation practitioners say, okay, inhale for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 5. Those are different types of meditations. They're good for different things. But if you just want to kind of have that effort where you're focusing on quelling that monkey mind, just allow. Just allow. Just allow the breathing to be natural, to allow yourself to focus. And when you're allowing yourself to focus on the breath and then moving on to from the breath to the awareness of everything that's happening to you and your awareness of being aware as you float away, you'll notice that you're not going to really be focusing on thoughts anymore. You're going to be focusing on the awareness. So you focus on the breathing, you focus on the awareness, and then you focus on the awareness of being aware. And that's where you're ultimately getting to a place of stillness, right? That's the place of no thought, the place of stillness, the place of calmness and non existence, where it feels like you're just not there. Because it feels like you're not in your body, it feels like you're somewhere and you're not quite sure where you are, but you know you're somewhere, but you're not sure where. And that's kind of the beauty of meditation. You're just allowing everything to occur. There's no judgment, there's no analysis, there's no thought. It's just be here now. Pure centeredness, right? And that's why the breathing is so great. Because what does the breathing do? It centers you, it grounds you, it helps you to focus. And that's all you want, right? So that's one thing that's very important. And Kathy is saying, when I am daydreaming and I'm seeing a beautiful house and a garden, is that meditating? I just drift off like I'm bored. Yeah, it's meditating. You can. That's a great question, actually. When you're, for example, driving on a long trip, let's say you're driving on a 2-hour trip, and suddenly you realize that you've gone 100 miles and you're like, whoa, how'd that happen? Where'd the time go? You were literally kind of mentally checked out. That's the same concept. You know, maybe you're on a road trip and you've been going a couple hundred miles and you don't even know where the time went. And you're like, what? That's meditating because you weren't thinking, you weren't there, you were zoned out. The same thing can happen when you're gardening, when you're doing the dishes, when you're doing cleaning, some kind of rote activity where your brain's not even engaged. That's a type of meditation. It's called active meditation. You can do the same thing when you're walking. There's literally a walking meditation where you start walking. Maybe you've got like mala beads or something, or you're just kind of like zoning out. And you're just going, 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 and maybe it's just like this long loop, and you don't even have to think about anything. You'll find that you check out because you're not even aware of what you're doing. You're like, whoa, that was fast. Where'd the time go? Right? Every single time you go, wow, that was fast. Where did the time go? That's a kind of meditation. So that hopefully that answers your question, Kathy. So yeah, so that's the kind of response I'd give you. So if you got any questions before we wrap it up for the day today, let me know. Otherwise, I hope this was helpful. I hope this was something that you can use, you can take home with you. You can begin to practice it. Remember, focus on the breath, focus on the awareness, focus on allowing yourself to drift away and just be aware of the nothingness, be aware of the stillness, be aware of being aware. That allows you to totally drift away. It's like Calgon, take me away, right? So, what I'll do is say, hopefully, that has been something that has been very helpful for you, and hope you get value out of these little shows. If you do, just give me a like or a little thumbs up or something. And if you like all the value and you're finding you're getting value, by all means, subscribe to the channel because I'm giving these out every week. And I try to make sure that the content is something that you guys like. And by all means, if this is something that is helpful for you, then, if you subscribe, you'll always get an alert that there is some new content that's on the channel. So by all means, let me do that. And with that, I will sign off for today. And I thank all of you guys for coming out and asking great questions as usual. So with that, I will sign off and I will say, you know, sending you love and light, and I will see you next week. Bye bye for now.